Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode number 22 of the Growth Academy podcast. I hope you're having a good day, whatever you're doing. I hope it is going well. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the top 5 favorite books that I actually read last year. And so I thought by going through these top 5 books, you might find something that you would find interesting or something you're interested about. I talk about a couple of things that each of these books kind of talk about and what you will learn by reading these books. But firstly, before I go into that, the way I choose what books I'm going to read at the moment is all based around my next step. And I talked about that in a previous podcast episode where I was talking about how you can always be growing and how you can always be getting better and whatever you're trying to get better at. And so what I'm reading is always dependent on what I'm trying to get better at the time. I don't usually just read to relax. I do at night, but I don't usually read just for fun, but I do it because I'm trying to learn something. And so that's what reading is to me. And so that's how I choose. And that also means I don't always finish every single book. And I don't think I actually finish all of these books just because maybe halfway through a book, I got to a point where I actually want to start working on something else. I felt like I've mastered, or not mastered, but I got really good at what I was working on at that time. But anyway, without further ado, let's just go into these 5 books. The first one being How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This is obviously one of those books that like everyone talks about, but I don't know if a lot of people read. It's actually really interesting. It came out in like the 30s or the 40s of like 1900s, and it was kind of cool just to see like a whole different timeline and a whole different perspective. But this is basically the Bible of like people skills, and it'll tell you all about how to get people to like you more. And a book that I actually want to finish, because I don't think this is actually one of the books I did finish, but yeah, it's all about people skills. It's all about how to get along with people better, how to get people to like you. And which sounds kind of weird to say, but like it's actually really interesting, and the like thought processes. And when you're reading it, like, dang, this is so true. I like people who are like this, and I hate people who don't do this. But like, it's super interesting. I would highly recommend it. I want to reread it / finish it because it was actually really powerful. The next one being Executive Toughness by Jason Selk. I went through this. I did a whole like 3-part podcast series on this, so you guys should go check that out if this sounds interesting to you. But it's basically all about defining what you want in life and how to work consistently towards that goal. It's all about mental toughness. It's all about grit and tenacity, all those sorts of things. And there's also some practical exercises from this book that I actually do to this day. I did them today about how to stay mentally strong, how to push through the hard times, and how to stay on target to getting towards your goal. Speaking of goals, the third book that I really liked reading last year was Atomic Habits by James Clear. You've probably all heard of this book. It's basically like really interesting, and it basically talks about the science behind the habits and how it can be more successful at making things become habits. So it's how you can I don't actually really write too many notes, but remember I read this one a while ago, and it's basically how habits are formed and how you can stick to them and how you can stay consistent with them. Super interesting, super scientific. Definitely recommend you guys have a look at that one. The fourth book, which might not be as popular as the other ones I've talked about, is called Indestructible. I don't actually really know how to say the author's name, but I'm going to say I don't know, yeah, totally butchered that one. But anyway, this is all about straight up just getting distracted. And the reason why I wanted to buy this book was because I actually heard a podcast that he was on, and he was talking about how, because I tried this thing where I was sick of getting distracted by social media and all that. So what I would do is I'd go on a social media fast. I'd stop using social media altogether. And then found, instead of using social media, I'd then just go and watch YouTube, go watch some Netflix. Go watch a movie. Basically just do anything else that like would waste my time that wasn't social media. And he basically pointed it out on this podcast, and it's not social media's fault. It's like the human part of us that is always like, there's like a deeper reason for us being distracted is what I'm trying to say. So it goes into details about what is distraction, the opposite of distraction being traction, and how you can get traction. And what else did I write down? It also gives you just practical tips on being less distracted. And I found that was probably one of the most like surprisingly good books I've read, because all the other ones are obviously been like kind of popular. I've heard a lot about them, but Indestructible was actually like really good and really helpful, real practical, made a genuine difference in my life at the time, and I'll definitely reread that one again. And the last one being The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. You might have heard this one. I think it's quite popular, but it's basically based on around the whole idea of just trying to get 1% better every day, trying to be consistent, always showing up, always getting a little bit better. And I saw the stat where if you get 1% better every day for a year, you end up being like 3,600 something percent better or something ridiculous. But like that thinking is kind of flawed, right? Because like if you're trying to get good at basketball, if you've never picked up a basketball before, you can probably get 1% better in a day. But then if you get to LeBron James, you're not going to get 1% better in a single day. Like that, it's not how it works, right? But it's still like a really good thing to think about and thing to always be just aware of, I guess, is always to try and get a little bit better every day. And basically just it's a book about that. And there's not really too much more about it. It is kind of simple. It can drag on a little bit, but it's a super powerful thing to think about and will make a massive difference in your personal growth. And so those were my 5 top favorite books that I read last year. And I just want to finish with a final thing, which isn't actually powerful. It's actually just real practical, to be honest. And as someone who lives in New Zealand, and I know the majority of my listenership is from New Zealand, books are crazy expensive, just out of nowhere. Like some books are like $40, $50, which isn't heaps, but if you're trying to read one every couple of weeks, it adds up pretty quickly. And so I found a Kindle is half, maybe like 50-50 the time I'm buying a book. You can get it for way cheaper on a Kindle. So I just spent $100 on a Kindle, and you can buy like most of these books for way cheaper on there. And also the second website is what's it called? A Fish Pond. I think it might be .co.nz, but just look it up. What they do is basically, I think they buy like secondhand books from overseas, so they do take a while. They take like a good couple weeks, up to a month, just to arrive. But if you do it I'd just start a book, and when I start a book, I'd buy another book from Fish Pond. So by the time you're done, the new book will be coming up. So the time isn't actually a factor really. But you can get it for super cheap. Books are like $10-$20, and they're like perfect. Like I've never had any issues with any of them. They might be I don't even know if all of them are secondhand. They actually they look real good. You wouldn't be able to tell they're secondhand, so they might not even be secondhand. I don't know. But if you're trying to find cheap books that are legit, get them on Kindle or go to Fish Pond. It's super legit. And I don't know why, but for some reason it's just always way cheaper on there. But anyway, that was probably a bit of a quicker episode. I hope it brought you some value, and I hope it brought you some ideas of what you could start reading next. Currently, I'm kind of reading a book about Elon Musk. I only read a few pages, so I can't really say too much about it. Hopefully it's going to be super interesting, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, I hope this episode brought you some value, and I'll see you guys next week for episode number 23. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.